Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here with Rob and Ashley, and we have lots to talk about this week because two of the three hosts were doing lots of racing stuff this weekend. So, folks, how we doing this week?
Doing good, Brian. It was a blockbuster weekend. I'm very excited to hear what Truelove has to say about her big swing through Tennessee. Saw the whole damn state pretty much, except for Memphis. And, of course, I was at Thompson over the weekend for the Icebreaker. That was a great event, and we'll get into all that. But, Truelove, how you doing? Are you back to resembling a human? Are you feeling okay? Are you awake?
I'm old. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But I'm here. Drinking a bush apple at Applebee's.
Yeah, they're back.
Their new promotion. So
listen, don't get me excited just yet. They're not at my store yet. So
sorry.
Well, they're at this store.
Did you get the new Applebee's fucking OMG cheeseburger? It's a cheeseburger that's cut up in half and served in a plate of fucking flaming hot cheese.
I saw that, and it made me nauseous watching people eat it. Too much cheese.
Yeah, that's too much cheese, especially if the cheese... What happens to it when it gets cold? Because, some nacho cheese or cheese sauce can handle being cold, but I can't imagine an Applebee's burger being doused in whatever fucking Cisco bag they dumped on top of that. is gonna be good. So no, we don't have those at the table today. Just the usual whatever it is we ordered here.
Sizzling shrimps.
Yes, the sizzling shrimps and artichoke dip.
Yep.
I think you asked when my birthday was, Truelove. It was good.
Oh yeah.
It was good.
I mean, you were at a racetrack all weekend, so.
Yeah, I can't ask for much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this episode's going to be a little different. Usually we structure things to go, we start with the NASCAR stuff and go event by event into the septic tank and all that. But this week it's all kind of jumbled up into one thing. So it's gonna flow a little differently tonight. Definitely going to be a little bit more of a conversation. I know we all have some stories to tell, and I guess we'll just kick it off by talking
two
about
of you
Friday.
do. I'm going to be the one to report on the Friday and Saturday
one that
NASCAR
actually knows
races.
what happened.
So, yeah.
But yeah, Friday, what happened on Friday? I guess I'll kick it off here. Got off work a little early for once and decided to make it down to Thompson, get my pit pass for the weekend. And my main reason for wanting to go is that they redid the clubhouse there, because there's also a golf course on the property. And they redid the bar up top. And holy fucking shit, this place is amazing. You walk in there, and the bar, they have one of those, like, kind of wrapped bars in the center of the room. And on top of the beer coolers is just one of fucking Ryan Preece's Troyer chassis he ran. It's so sick. Staff is really nice. There's, like, golf simulators everywhere. And it overlooks the racetrack. So if you ever do make it to Thompson, Connecticut, for any reason, make sure you stop in there and pay them a visit, because it's an awesome place.
Yeah, Lebanon Valley just redid theirs too, but it looks nothing like that one.
Yeah, super nice. I sat down, and a couple of old timers sat next to me. One of them ended up being, he just kind of offered this information to me. I don't know how he knew I would be interested in it. He's like, yeah, I sponsor Larry Barnett out there, which I've mentioned on the show before. Larry Barnett is my favorite street stock driver of all time.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, I've got a favorite street stock
I love big time Leadfoot fan. And I looked at him and was like, you sponsor Leadfoot? And then from then on, we were just buds. And it was kind of fun to talk to a couple boomers about stuff. I did learn that kids are soft these days because they started handing out participation trophies in softball about 25 years ago. And I said, yeah, it might be kind of true in some ways, but I don't know. I didn't want to get into that. But the only reason I'm really talking about this is I found out this dude was 85 and he looks younger than a lot of people I hang out with. And I was like, you're 85? And he's like, well, I'm 60 with 25 years experience. So I tucked that one away in the Rolodex, and I'll use that in a couple years here because that guy's going to outlive me for sure. But nice to share a beer with those guys. And not to get ahead of myself, but old Leadfoot didn't have the best weekend, which is a shame because as I was getting up to leave, he's like, yeah, hopefully I'll be staring at you from Victory Lane. And I was like, yeah, me too. And it didn't happen. But as that was taking place in Thompson, Connecticut, Truelove was screaming her way up the highway.
If there was any screaming.
Screaming. Well, not you and Andy, but perhaps, on the highway. 70 miles an hour of just pure speed on their way to Nashville.
Yes. So we went up Friday to get in a day early just to kind of settle in before 2 full days ahead. But probably got to Nashville around 1:30. My good friend Clayton was playing on Broadway until 2, so we tried to get over there real quick to see him. He was playing at Old Red, which is like Sheldon's bar, I think, which I had never been to and probably wouldn't have gone otherwise. But just getting onto Broadway, it was instantly a hot mess in the middle of the day, and I instantly regretted it. But I think it was partially because they were setting up a Supercross demo in the middle of the road. Mm-hmm. So there were lots of Supercross darfs wandering everywhere.
Yeah, they were doing like hole shot races down Broadway, right?
Maybe. I didn't stick around to see any of the action because the street reeked of sewage and hot trash. So
we got Supercross coming to Cleveland this weekend, so I'm sure some of that stuff will be going on somewhere, but I doubt I'll be attending.
Yeah. After Clayton played, we were pretty hungry, so I wanted to go down to Robert's and get a fried bologna sandwich, but we got there around 3:30, and there was a line of like douche canoes out the door, and I was like, nope, we got to get away from Broadway.
Yeah.
So next best case, we went to Nashville Palace, which is also owned by the same people that own Roberts.
Yeah, that's a cool place too.
Yeah, so I love that place because they've got really good fried catfish and a great portrait of Randy Travis on the wall from when he was a dishwasher there.
Yes, they do.
There was a server that came up to us, and based on our apparel, I suppose, she asked if we were in town for the races, and we were like, yeah, that's absolutely why we're here. And she said, which driver are you guys pulling for? And like, who's your guy? And we said, well, we're here to see Dale Jr. And the look of utter confusion and bewilderment on her face. And she said, oh, you're not going to Supercross? No, we're going to the fairgrounds. So also we were watching like the local news in the hotel later that night, and the news anchor was hyping up all the events going on this weekend in Nashville, and he talked about Supercross a bunch, but Dale Jr. got no love, so that was...
Yeah, their media is a little biased against anything that happens at the Speedway, which I think we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's been a lot of talk about the Speedway this weekend, obviously, so.
So, yeah, after dinner at Nashville Palace, we went to Cooter's next door, which is the Dukes of Hazzard Museum, and took a lap in there.
Oh, we went there.
Never been in there. Yeah.
We went to those places when you and I went. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And there was a toothless lady working behind the counter, which was so perfect. And she was telling us that Daisy Duke herself was going to be there the next day, and that we should show up early because there was going to be a line around the building. But we didn't come back, so.
Yeah.
I probably would have been there for that.
Yeah. And then we went to the hotel and just watched the truck race from the hotel. So
And now over to
Nothing
Brian
too crazy.
for the truck race.
Yeah, I guess we can get into that. I would argue that this race, out of all three of them, was probably the worst race of the weekend. Not that it was bad, but it just wasn't that great. I mean, really, the big talking point was the whole Corey Heim Christian Eckes incident. If you weren't watching, there was a restart. There was a weird incident. Like, there was a caution. I forget what the caution was for. Kyle Busch was leading, and he was trying to save fuel, and he ended up, like, stalling the truck and then having to jump to the back. Like, he just kind of bled back into 8th place or whatever.
Yeah, vintage 2026 Kyle Busch meltdown.
Which that kind of confused the leaders and placement and everything. And then, Corey Heim and Eckes were battling for the lead. Eckes got passed by Heim, and then going into, I don't know, whichever turn they were going into, Heim got around Eckes, and then while Eckes was trying to come back down and go behind him and maybe try to, force him up the hill in the next corner, just kind of clipped his right rear, and that caused a wreck that took out Heim and
Honeycutt.
Honeycutt and Lane Riggs, which were probably the three of the trucks to beat.
The same three guys who get involved in that wreck every single week.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting about that whole incident was on the radio right after it happened, like, Heim seemed to be more pissed about his truck than the incident, because he didn't really say much about Eckes on the radio, but he told his crew, like, next time I'm in this thing, will you guys fix the shifting? Because I guess, like, something was going on with his transmission or his shifter or whatever, to where he wasn't getting good restarts, and I think that's why, had his restart been better, he would have gotten away, Eckes, and this whole thing would have happened.
Yeah.
Then after it happened, I mean, there was controversy online and replays and trying to figure out what happened, and it really came down to, it was just a racing deal. Like, Eckes seemed pretty sincere in remorse for causing the wreck. I mean, he cost Corey Heim a chance at $500,000. And, it wasn't an incident that required that much aggressiveness. Like, after watching it, and also, too, hearing, like, Heim was very, like, not to say I'm necessarily becoming a fan of Heim, but I kind of am, I think. I mean, he gave a very mature interview after that wreck where he didn't even blame Christian. He wasn't pissed off about it. He just, it was a racing deal. And,
I like that. Yeah, I'm with you. People were calling for his head as like, oh, enjoy the suspension, asshole. It's like, for what?
It was not, while, he bobbled a little bit, but it was not, he didn't right hook him. It was a racing deal. And, that really,
I mean, Eckes' radio didn't help at all. The spotter telling him to go get him, and then immediately after that, he gets him, and that doesn't look great. But at the same time, like, just use your fucking eyes, people. That was clearly not. It wasn't intentional. At least not in the way that some people we've seen.
For sure.
We've seen worse. That's for sure.
But in the end, Christopher Bell got the victory. Again, when three of the top contenders are taken out, granted there were a lot of Cup drivers in the field, but, Hocevar wasn't really a factor, and...
he got a top 10 out of the deal, I think.
Yeah, he did, but still, Chastain, I don't think he was anywhere, up front at all, so... And I think was Suarez in that race too, maybe? I can't remember.
Surely. But, we'll say yes.
Sure. But, Christopher Bell got the victory, and that was his only highlight of the weekend because his Sunday was dog shit. But that's pretty much it. I mean, it was a fine race, but other than that incident, there wasn't really a ton to talk about.
There was the incident that I want to talk about where the booth and the Fox Graphics and the pit reporter all told Chandler Smith that he had won $50,000.
Yeah, I loved that. That was great. A little birthday gift for me.
Only for it to be taken away from him after the race. So.
Wildly incorrect.
Yep.
Also, Frankie Muniz wrecked himself off somebody's nose.
That's the other thing I forgot about, because I had his radio on for a second after that happened, and his spotter was like, "Yeah, I was telling him inside," and then he just clears himself off the fucking nose. So, yeah. And then afterwards, like, the kid that wrecked with him was telling him he didn't belong in NASCAR and stuff, which I thought was kind of funny. So, there'll be more Malcolm chat later on in the show. But
yeah, we got plenty of Frankie Muniz to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Don't worry, y'all.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It was a truck race. It wasn't horrible, but, other than those couple things, that was pretty much it, I think. And then I totally forgot there was a late model race, but my gummy had kicked in by then, and like right after the truck race, like they were still redrawn, and then I put something else on and then totally fucking forgot.
Oh, on Dirt Vision? Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yep.
Where'd you stay, Truelove? Did you get a cool hotel?
Oh God. We stayed at the Marriott next to the airport. So there were like Army helicopters flying over at all hours of the night, and the hotel's built in like a circle with all the balconies facing inside over the bar. So all the bar noises went up into all the rooms, all the vacuum noises, the dish clanking. Yeah.
So even though you weren't staying on Broadway, it felt like you were staying on Broadway.
Pretty much, yeah. So we had to check out before it was race time. So we were looking to kill some time before we had to go over to the Speedway. So we decided to stop in the Lionel store over at Opry Mills.
Oh,
which Saturday at the mall was probably a mistake, but we only went in there for a minute, and it's half trains, half NASCAR diecast. So I don't really buy diecast, but I thought we'd take a lap. There's a few fans in there as well, and some sheet metal and hoods and stuff on the wall, but nothing much to talk about there. We did stop in a Spencer's on the way out, too, just out of curiosity, and that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer's is not as cool now as it was in the 90s.
Not even remotely.
Neither is Hot Topic. It's too bright.
No.
Their entire back wall was nothing but dildos, and there's just like a small child walking around the store eating lollipop. I'm like, what is... I gotta get out of here.
I gotta get back to the Lionel store.
Yeah. But after that, we just stopped in like some vintage stores that were overpriced, and
Yeah, as they are. In
Yeah.
Nashville. Yeah.
got stuck at a red light and watched a small child on the sidewalk have a dance off with a bachelorette party on a party bus. The usual
Typical. Yeah.
NASCAR things. And then we went to the racetrack.
Nice.
You mean to tell about that now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't sure what order we were going in, but so we got to the fairgrounds around 3:30. We had pit passes, so we wanted to get there a little early just to kind of hang out and see some folks. I know me and Brian have been there before, but I didn't realize just to what extent the track was banked until we got to the infield.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy to see that from the infield. Yeah.
When we got there, they were getting lined up for qualifying, like coming out of inspection and lining up on pit road. And Landon Huffman's Texas Roadhouse car looked so good in person.
Yeah.
There was also a Starbucks car driven by a kid with the last name Bean. Those are my only paint scheme notes. So, when we first got there, Dale Jr.'s car was parked perfectly, like, picturesque with the fairgrounds awning in the background. I was like, okay, there's no one around it. I'm going to pop over there and get my picture real quick. But there was I guess I'll call him a media guy. He had a camera who was kind of lurking around the car in the way. And he proceeded to start pulling out little, like, anime figurines and posing them on the asphalt in front of the car and laying on the ground taking photos of these anime figurines for like 10 minutes.
I'm sorry, how old was this person?
He was a grown adult man.
They just hand them vests out to anybody these days.
Yeah, apparently. So, but while I was waiting for him to finish his photo shoot, we did run into our friend Cam, Altered Stock, one of our favorite photographers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he had just came from Charlotte the day before for the IROC event.
Yeah.
Over at the 10 Tenths Motor Club in Charlotte.
Man, that looks super cool, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw any highlights or video from that. That's a sweet event. If I was anywhere near Charlotte, I would have gone to that. That looked awesome.
Yeah, so it's good to see him, talk to him for a bit. Him and Andy are both photographers and car nerds, so it's good for them to meet and talk about a bunch of stuff. But also ran into Buddy, because, of course Buddy's there.
Yes.
It's his job. He had went to the truck race the night before, driven to the Cars tour race, and was heading back to Bristol as well the next day. I believe he stayed on Broadway very late after the Cars tour race. So.
I would expect nothing less.
Yeah. So I'm just going to talk about my experience there, but if y'all want more detailed information about the actual race, Buddy over at On Tour ATYL.
Yes.
Have the legit coverage.
Even when we go to Cars Tour races, we don't know what happened and we didn't watch them. So.
No.
Before you
know, like 2 driver names in the field.
Well, it's all Cadens and Carsons, so you can kind of, and maybe a few Landons. I was going to ask you before we get talking about racing, did you try Jerky Boys? Did you have any of the jerky?
No. By the time we finally got out to the fan zone area, I couldn't find the tent, so I'm assuming that they sold out and just packed up.
Yeah.
But that'll make sense more when I talk more about the fan zone area. So I talked to them, and then there was another funny moment, I thought, where we were sitting on pit wall just kind of wasting time, and Connor Jones's crew was next to me, and Connor Jones walked up behind one of his pit crew guys and put his junk on the back of his neck. And so I had a front row view to that.
Bet your buddy's not going to talk about that on his show, huh?
Probably not. Just here. Qualifying started a little after 5, so we walked over to the chain link fence inside of turn 2, which was a great view, and watched the whole qualifying session from there. During that, my friend Mason came and met up with us, who, oddly enough, I met Mason years ago at one of my favorite bars in Nashville, Fran's, after I had ran into one of Rob's old bandmates, Bam.
Oh, shit.
And I know I've told you this story before, but ran into Bam, and Bam was like, my friend Mason's on his way here. He's like, he's a huge NASCAR fan. You guys totally hit it off. And he was right. Me and Mason have been friends ever since. So it's good to see him. After qualifying, we were heading back to pit road, and we're coming up this hill that goes onto the inner track. And just as I'm cresting the top of the hill, there's a golf cart coming straight at me, and it was Dale Jr. And so I smiled and I got a nod, and that was the most that I saw Dale Jr. all day. So after that, we decided to just go ahead and cross the start-finish line into the grandstand since the crossover gate was open. And as soon as I get through the crossover gate, the Cars Tour people are setting up that giant inflatable arch.
Yeah.
So I almost got taken out by the arch. If if you've ever been to the fairgrounds, you know that if you start at the bottom of the grandstands, you can't get to the concourse until you climb pretty much every single stair in that place.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, by the time I got through those 5 million stairs, I wanted to die at the top. I desperately needed water and food because I was hungry, and I wanted a freaking beer.
Yeah, for it to only be about 12,000 people can fit in there, that's a very tall grandstand.
Yeah. And they had 2 food lines open and 2 beer lines open. And then there was, I think, a smaller food truck out in the fan zone and 1 beer tent out there too. Every single one of these options had a line a mile long. And I needed something from each of them. So me and Andy had to divide up. I was like, you go get the food, I'll stand in the beer line. And I got in the beer line, let's see, around 6:40. I missed the driver intros, I missed the anthem, I missed most of the first race.
What
40
the
minutes.
fuck?
This line is not moving. 40 minutes into this line, I'm probably halfway through it, and Andy texts me and says that he's getting towards the front of the food line, and it turns out they had beer in that line because he had just finally saw someone leave with a beer. So since he was closer, yeah, I told him just to get beer from there. But
Wow.
yeah, if it wasn't for that, then I probably would have been in that line for another 40 minutes. So yeah, that was a shit show. I know we were like, well, maybe later in the race the lines will get shorter, but my buddy Clayton was there too, and he told me that during the Dale Jr. race, he went to the beer line and stood in there for another 40 minutes. So Jesus. It never got better. They had one girl running the beer tent, and she had to open all the boxes herself and deal with like the super slow credit card machine, and she looked very apathetic. She did not care. So
you would think, I mean, come on, this is going to be the biggest race there all year. You would think they'd, fix
You'd
that.
think.
Yeah, they were wildly unprepared for the
Let me
Dale
ask
Jr.
you this.
effect.
I've never been to the fairgrounds when anything was happening. I've been there for like it was a test session that I happened to stumble into. And I don't remember there being any space for much of anything behind the grandstand. So where is this
Not
fan
anymore,
zone
no.
located? Like,
Well, the fan zone, quote unquote, is just a tiny sliver of the parking lot that's left in between the track and those apartments. And so really all there was like a food truck and a Busch beer tent out there, and there was one tiny merch trailer for Cars Tour merch, and I think a couple random businesses had a table set up. The jerky tent was gone. That's all I cared about.
yeah.
So it's really not much one. So if NASCAR were to ever go there, I'm not sure where they would have to set up a legit
They'd probably
fan
have
zone.
to, remembering what the layout was like there, there's not a whole lot of room to do.
Yeah, there wasn't much space before the apartments got built
No.
Yeah,
in the
so-
stadium.
I mean, there was a little bit, but I mean, because when Ashley and I went for SRX, like the apartments weren't there. I mean, there were a handful of trailers, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure that space is a lot smaller now.
Yeah, it's tiny. After finally getting food, we were going to look for seats. So the deal with pit passes were you could sit in the general admission section, which was the bottom section all across the grandstands.
Yeah.
But by the time we got down there, there were 0 seats left anywhere in the general admission. So at the very end of the grandstands, past the wall, over in turn 4, there was a grassy knoll with a slight slope to it. So we just ended up sitting in the grass. So I couldn't even see turns 1 and 2 or half of the front stretch, but I could see the entire back stretch and 3 and 4. So I went up into the grandstands one time just to kind of look at what the crowd looked like, and it was insane. I don't remember who won the first race. Don't know any names in that race. Go ask Buddy.
Yeah, he would know.
Yeah. I think I read today there's like 13,000 people there, so.
It was Dawson Sutton.
Okay.
Dawson Sutton.
I had no idea.
That's a name. He's raced
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
O'Reilly's and stuff.
Nashville.
I know that name.
Nashville guy. He races for Rackley, I think.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he that's his home track is the fairgrounds.
Okay. But yeah, crowd was insane. The energy was insane. Dale Jr., he was the show regardless of how he was going to do, but from him starting 21st, he finished 12th. So he was making a bunch of passes, and every time he made a pass, the crowd lost it. And that neon orange 8 really looked good up under the lights.
Yeah.
At one point, we were sitting there. It must have been a caution or maybe a halfway break. So the cars weren't running, but the crowd noise is still super loud. They're talking on the intercom. And far off in an unknown location in the crowd, I hear a distinct and familiar yee-yee call. That can only be one person. Old Ken Bob was there somewhere.
Yeah, him and James Honeycutt were out there.
Well, didn't see him, but I heard him. Yeah. Also, Rob, you had a little commercial to the show last week.
Yeah, we have a sponsor, at least for last week's episode, Yee Motorsports. Go check them out. The ad says it so much better than I can, but yeah, go check them out on TikTok if you're interested.
That was funny. And yeah, what's his name? Caden Kloppel won? Yep.
Caden Kloppel, yeah.
And the jerky car.
Yeah, Parker Eatman led a bunch of laps towards the end, and that just didn't work out, and Caden got around him.
Yeah, so after the race, we crossed back over into the pits to get back to our car. Ran into Cam again, talked to him for a second, and then sat in traffic for a really long time. And then after we left there, we just started driving east towards Bristol to knock out some of that drive for the morning. We ended up stopping in Knoxville, which is probably an hour 45 or so from Bristol.
That ain't too bad, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't realize that, I guess, in Knoxville that night was an orange and white game, whatever the fuck that is. And so every hotel was packed. The Hampton that we had went to, we walked in and the lady was like, we're sold out. But she was such an angel that she was like, we had one no-show, so I'm going to get you that room. And she worked forever to get us that room. But
oh, that's awesome.
God bless whoever that sweet lady was at the Hampton Inn in Knoxville. Yep. That's, I think, all my fairgrounds notes.
Nice. Well, while you were doing all that, it was my birthday. It was nice, beautiful day. One of the first warm days we've had in what feels like 10 years. And kind of spent the morning just kind of hanging around the house. Didn't really do much. I wasn't planning on going for most of the day at Thompson. Usually it's a whole affair where I'm there for the time the gates open until shit's over. Every day that the icebreaker's running. But this year I was like, I had no one to go with on Saturday. And I really just wanted to see the tri-track race anyway. So kind of waited around, was kind of watching timing and scoring. About 3 o'clock rolled around. I was like, yeah, this is probably a good time to leave. I'll get to see at least a few features, And again, the American Canadian Tour is the one who runs the modified and oval track events at Thompson. And they do it with military precision. So I figured, I'll roll up just in time. I'll probably see the pro trucks and, NEMA lights and a couple other features. And I'll get the full day in, even though I wasn't there early. And I pull up to I get there, a parking lot is packed, always a great sign. I mean, the icebreaker's been huge past couple of years, and even with the weather, there's a lot of hype around that event. And this year, with the weather being perfect, the parking lots were absolutely jam-packed, which was awesome to see. Fortunately, I know how to get up front. And I just kind of drove to the campground until I found the opening in the fence and just stuck it right there on the rumble strip of the road course, which is about 100 yards to the front gate. Had a quick nip, pounded a beer, sent a couple Wish You Were Here videos out, walked in, and the NEMA Light feature was just about to roll out on track, and that was the last race before the tri-track race was going to go out there. So I timed that just about perfectly. Any later, I would have missed the whole fucking thing. So good for me. I had the exact opposite experience as you at Nashville. Again, I got a couple drinks in, walked straight up to the beer stand, was served immediately, and found myself a seat. So points for Thompson. But like I said, got there just in time for the
send Dale Jr. up there.
Yeah, exactly. That'll fuck the whole place up.
That'll show you.
Yeah, we probably have more people serving beer at Thompson than y'all did in Nashville, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got there just in time for the NEMA lights to roll off, and got to watch Dylan. I'm going to mispronounce this last name. Dylan Kotu kind of tip his midget over, and immediately start an oil fire in turn one. So that got a big gasp from the crowd. Ended up being just fine, but it was the slowest flipping fire I've ever seen in my life. It was almost as if you cow tipped it the way it got. Any other racetrack in the country, it probably wouldn't have happened, but Thompson, like Nashville, has super tall banking, and he was an unfortunate victim of that. Zach Martinez picked up the win, but was light at the scales, so it went to Kyle Valeri. A lot of drama in a 10-car field, I can tell you that. But then it was time for the big show, the Tri-Track Modifieds, which, honestly, that's probably my favorite modified series up here. We have a few of them. The NASCAR Tour has all the prestige in the record book, but oftentimes the Tri-Track shows are a lot better. John McKennedy picking up the win there. Started ninth, kind of worked his way up to the front. Eric Burnt started on the front row, and he led a bunch of laps. And I was excited to see that until he came in there and his pit crew stepped all over his dick. And that sent him back to 40 leagues under the sea, or 4,000, whatever that is. But that was a shame to see. The race to the finish was fucking awesome. Mikey Christopher was up front for a little bit. Patrick Immerling was showing some speed as well as he always does at Thompson, but no one had anything for John McKennedy in the 79, and kind of cast the pall over tomorrow's event because he was also running that too, and he's always fast at Thompson. So I was like, great, I get to see two fucking John McKennedy wins this weekend. But shout out to him. That was awesome. After that, I was back in the car and then back home. So I was literally out of the house for about 2 hours. It was great.
There's so much ease and convenience in your day.
Yeah, it was the breeziest day at the racetrack I've ever had. And again, if I know the way into the racetrack, I also know the way out. So
That helps.
Exact same way, and it was perfect. I in fact got home. My wife was going to try and bake me a surprise birthday cake, and I caught her in the middle of that, and she's like, "The fuck are you doing home?" Like, I don't know. To be honest with you, I have no idea. But that was nice, and then it was onto the couch for. By the way, the cake she made was fucking delicious. It was so good. Thank you, Caddy. But yeah. I don't know if I have any other notes from my actual birthday or my time at Thompson. Oh, yes, I did get to Darf out a little bit. Of course, there are a couple of merch trailers set up. The Sunoco guys have their whole thing, and of course, there's track merch for sale. But then there's always this trailer that comes from somewhere down south. I don't know exactly where. They have a bunch of North-South shootout T-shirts and shit like that, and they make these bootleg Richie Evans T-shirts, and they finally made them in black for the first time in 20 years. So had to pick one of those up, and also got myself a badass little Steve Park Busch Series diecast to take home. It was amazingly, it was $30 for everything, and I think it was because I was wearing a Bowman Gray hat, because I think they sell a bunch of Bowman Gray stuff too. The lady kind of like, the diecast was supposed to be like 15 or something, and she kind of looked at me and looked up at my hat and looked back down at the stuff. She's like, 30? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's go with that.
Little birthday treat.
And just to foreshadow a little bit, I did go back the next day and pay about twice that much for the same T-shirt to get one for my brother-in-law. And I did not have the Bowman Gray hat on, so I think that was the key.
Yeah, you fucked up.
Yeah. But yeah, then I was back home just to sit on the couch and watch as much racing as possible. I said this to you guys over the weekend, but so much happening. I don't think I realized how much racing was actually going on that you could watch, and all of it was pretty damn good. And the Xfinity race was no different.
Yeah,
or O'Reilly, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. I mean, I feel like, Kyle Larson pretty much led most of it, I believe, right? Am I remembering this correctly?
Oh, yeah.
Every time I opened my app, I just saw Kyle Larson at the top.
Yeah.
Classic stage 1, stage 2 dick stomping, only to not finish the stomp.
It was, we'll get to it, but it was a very similar day for him, both Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, it
both
was.
Both the entire races were very similar for him. But I'm trying to remember any sort of notable incidents from the race, and I can't really think of much. Like I said, Kyle Larson led the majority of it. And it was a fine race. Nothing stands out until the very end. I forget what brought out the last caution that led to, the mixed pit stops and stuff like that. But basically towards the end, Connor Zilic, in a handful of cars, but only like 4 or 5 cars, there was like a caution with like 20-ish to go, and Zilic and a couple other cars stayed out, and they at that point had 70, 80, 90 laps in their tires, and the rest of the field pretty much pit. And even with new tires, like Kyle Larson was not able, I should say this, before that caution, like Brent Cruz, he ended up bouncing off the wall and still was able to keep his position and race for the lead. He was doing very well. Kyle Larson, however, did not have that same luck. Even with fresh tires, he was battling Zilic, but with a few laps to go, he got into the wall, and that was it.
Didn't Zilic set the fastest lap of the race on those old tires?
That I don't remember.
After that
maybe.
cycle, I think he did.
I wouldn't doubt it, but maybe. And also, not to get ahead of ourselves, but it was kind of a similar story on Sunday as well. But we'll get to it. But Zilic, it was a nice confidence booster for him, which he talked about in his post-race interview. Obviously he's not been having the greatest rookie season in NASCAR, even though he will be the rookie of the year regardless.
Which is quite funny to receive any sort of title or applause for what he's doing this year.
Yeah, but you also have to factor in, if he was racing for Hendrick, I think he'd probably be having a better season, even though the Chevys in general aren't doing that well.
Yeah,
but
Trackhouse is kind of out to lunch right now.
Trackhouse is not doing very well this year, but yeah, he got his victory. I think that's his first victory of the year, and he was very happy about that afterwards. And I don't have anything against Zilic. He's a very talented kid, and he's done absolutely nothing to offend me in any way. So
no, he's also a generational talent.
For sure. But it was fine. Again, I watched it. Don't have much to report, but it was a fine race.
The only funny thing I saw was, Rodney Childers was his crew chief for that race.
Yep.
And they took a picture together in Victory Lane.
Oh, yeah, that picture was bad.
Rodney Childers reposted it to make sure that everyone knew that he had not gained a shit ton of weight, that he had just made the mistake of wearing all of his radios up under his fire suit jacket thing, so he looked like a giant grimace. But
he did not look good in that picture.
Yeah, he's not on the Gibbs fitness plan anymore.
No.
Or excuse me, what was it? Not Gibbs. Fucking where was he at? Spire. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Wherever the fuck he was. Also, shout out to Hunter Lawrence for picking up a Supercross win in the 450s in Nashville. A lot of friends were actually at both events.
They have I know Josh was at. Did you run into Davey at
I had no idea that he was even there.
Yeah, Josh.
Until I saw his stories later.
Yeah, Josh Davis was there.
I told him
James,
I told him in the one group chat you were going to be there, but also I knew it was going to be, crazy.
Yeah,
packed, so
there were several people that I knew were there, and just there was no locating anyone there.
Yeah, I doubt they did this on purpose, but it's rare that there's a midday Supercross event. And what a badass little doubleheader to go see Supercross in midday afternoon and then hit the Cars Tour after that.
Yeah, we could tell there were a lot of Supercross fans at the track. And also towards the end of the race, people started leaving early to beat the traffic. And you could also tell that those looked like mostly Supercross fans. So,
Bunch of
but yeah.
Cooper Webb shirts walking out.
Yeah, there were a lot of Deegan shirts I saw.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yep.
That makes more sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully do that again. It was great.
Yeah. Also, forgot to mention that Dale Jr. has already announced his next Cars Tour race in the Sundrop car, October 3rd at Newport, Tennessee.
Oh,
So-
very cool.
Hopefully they have more beer lines.
I have a feeling they might not.
Yep.
Bring
Did
him
y'all want to
bring
talk
him to
about
Thompson.
Oh, wait, Rob, you still need to mention your DARF from the Xfinity race.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I had scrolled down to.
But I guess I wasn't sure when we were gonna talk about that because that was the other very notable thing about that race.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I saw that and I was like,
we can
what the
talk about
fuck?
it now. Big fire in the pits. I forget who it was that completely exploded.
Yeah.
But
Mason Maggio, I believe.
that sounds sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Which I will say too, before we get to the DARF incident, like he blew up and covered the fucking track in smoke, and then caught on fire like in, going into the garage. And Jamie McMurray on TV was like, it's kind of like he kept that car in gear, because normally when you blow up, you take it out of gear and just coast, and like that fire coming on way late seems like he just didn't know what the fuck he was doing and kept his car in gear. I don't know if that's what happened, but I've never seen that happen with a car just blowing a motor like that.
Either way, it was an incredible fire, and this is where our DARF of the week comes from, and probably our DARF of the year. We say it. It feels like every fucking episode that if you're in the pits or the garage or any sort of place where there are real live big time race cars around, an ounce of self-awareness is required.
Yes, and I say this as someone who almost got ran over by Daniel Suarez when I was fully paying attention to everything in the pits in Darlington, and I still almost got hit by him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You got to watch out. And this guy, he was watching all right, but as he's standing in the middle of the garage entrance, and Mason Maggio's fucking flaming comet of a car is coming in to burn to the ground somewhere, this guy, instead of getting out of the way, decides that, I got to get this on my cell phone. And just fumbling for his phone in his back pocket as emergency crews are pushing him out of the way to try and keep Mason Maggio, or whoever the fuck it was, from turning into the skeleton from the nuclear scene in Terminator 2. Because that's what would have happened. I get it. Like, a lot of cool stuff happens when you're close to the cars, when you're kind of in the belly of the beast. I understand that. You want to get that shot for the boys. You want to get that shot for the Instagram. I totally understand that. But when emergency crews are literally having to physically move you out of the way to service whatever is happening, you're in the fucking way, and this is not something you should be doing. So I feel like I actually listened to DBC. They had Steve O'Donnell on this week, which was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It was kind of like having a politician on there. He's not the most... he can't be a regular guy when he speaks, but he kind of laid out the process for what happens when something like this happens. And, they're going to find out... He's like, we'll find out who the guy was. We'll find out who gave him the card or the pass, and then we'll adjust from there. And so I don't have to give this guy a punishment, because I feel like that's probably coming down from NASCAR themselves. But again, I don't want to have to keep saying this, but just pay attention. Pay just the slightest bit of attention. And most of these situations don't end up on national television, but this one did. And thank you for that, sir.
It's not that he wasn't paying attention. He
he's
clearly was paying attention. It's just...
That's fair.
Yeah. After seeing this guy and then being in the pits on Sunday and observing some other people, I feel like every time I'm in the pits now, I just truly wonder how most of these people acquire their hot passes.
Yeah. I also
sponsorship
wonder...
shit, a lot of it.
Yeah. I also wonder how long that's going to continue to happen. Because like I said, most of it doesn't end up on television, right?
Right.
So, and I know they control it. There's a certain number that they can release and do release. So they do have somewhat of a handle on it. But when you let a bunch of kittens out of a bag into an area, they're going to do dumb shit and tear the carpet up and piss. Yeah. And that's what this guy did. But yeah, that's our DAR for the year, and let that be an example to anyone listening of what not to do when a car is exploding behind you.
Yes.
Before we get into Sunday here, we did have a note about some of the discourse about the racetrack. I don't know if we want to talk about that right now. Past couple weeks, kind of leading into Truelove going to Nashville and this Cars race happening. I guess just because there was a big event happening, a lot of the talk about the battle between the town and SMI and racetrack management has kind of bubbled up to the top, and it's a topic again, probably because Dale Jr. was coming to town. And these fucking people, and again, like I fully understand that, like I'm decidedly on one side of the fence, as all of us are.
Yeah. And
none of us live in Nashville, so I'll give that.
Thank God.
Yeah, seriously. Because I don't think anyone who actually lives in Nashville really lives in Nashville either, based on my experiences there over the past few years. Seems like a bunch of transplants. But, man, don't get it twisted that the average person fucking hates motorsports. They really do. And
I mean,
look at the Greenville Pickens stuff that Dillner's been posting in the meetings they've been going to. Like, just the most condescending fucking NIMBY bullshit from these people.
And also too, so I think it was Wisconsin. You know, the
race bill got vetoed. Yeah.
Yeah, like the governor vetoed that, even though it got voted in. You know, I do think with Nashville, it seems like a good chunk of the opposition is coming from the guy that owns the soccer stadium, who yes. Before we recorded, I saw a video that was done by some Nashville news outlet and posted on Instagram, where, you know, when that stadium was being built, the owner of the soccer stadium he made it seem like he wanted to have some sort of partnership for the Speedway, but now it seems like, you know, he's doing a lot of the opposing and doing some of this astroturfing with, like, you know, social media stuff and getting people to speak up against the racetrack. So kind of going back on his word of having a partnership with the Speedway. And like, soccer fucking sucks, man. Like, I mean,
yes.
Especially
the fucking MLS. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, when you think about, again, I mean, Nashville, obviously it's, you know, country music home. When you think about, you know, Southern traditions and, you know, that whole culture, I mean, racing and country music kind of go hand in hand. Soccer does not. Like, I mean, granted, Nashville has kind of become this, not quite Las Vegas of the Southeast, but...
Well, it's Los Angeles in the middle of the country is what it is.
Yeah, that's probably a better analogy. But, you know, racing and country music and all that stuff, they go hand in hand. And culture-wise, like, soccer doesn't really fit, you know, to me.
I mean, I know... Again, it's a town of transplants.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose my words carefully here so I don't sound like my fucking dad. But a lot of the things that Nashville was known for and has a reputation for, and a lot of the old, I guess, for lack of a better term, stuff in Nashville that I know the three of us enjoy, a lot of that has fallen by the wayside over time due to new development and transplants coming in, and it's all been replaced with whatever the image or the mirage of what that was. You see it in Austin, too, and all these other towns that have personality. And the Fairgrounds Speedway is definitely very old Nashville. And when you get a bunch of fucking Californians buying condos next to a racetrack that was there many years before they were, but it's not something they are interested in, you know, sprinkle all the political leanings you want on top of that, and just money, I guess, and tax brackets. I don't know. I'm kind of getting off track here, but I think think you get what I'm trying to say here. It's like, I don't think that the people that live in Nashville now really understand what Nashville was like before. And the image of the things that they're seeing that Nashville is known for is not actually, it's not actually country music, you know. It's not actually this culture that made that place special anymore. And they actually don't really care much for any of that at all. So anything that's redneck leaning or whatever needs to be pushed out in favor of something else. And that's kind of how I read the overall social part of it. But Truelove, I wanted to ask you, I don't know how much time you really got to spend around the fairgrounds, because there's really nothing around there but the racetrack and Santa's, as far as I'm concerned.
That's about the only two places I care about.
Are there yard signs out? Are there people? Were there protesters? Well, like, what was the vibe from? Was there any vision of the opposition there other than what we see on Twitter?
I didn't see any, maybe because I wasn't looking for it, but also we came in from the back side of the speedway, which is a little bit more of a rougher, sketchier looking area.
Yeah.
And parked in the grass lots, and all the fancy stuff and the condos and the soccer and the paved parking lots and the neighborhood is on the other side of the speedway. So
were there any like I was curious about like that condo that's there now. Were there people like hanging out of their fucking, you know, windows or anything? Or
I didn't see any. From my viewpoints, I really had more of a view of the parking garage that's next to it, but I didn't see any. I mean, by the time I got up to the top where I could really see the apartments, I was in like hangry, thirsty, overwhelmed by the crowd and lines mode, so I wasn't really taking in details like I probably should have been, but I did learn more about this whole thing today, listening to Dale Jr.'s recap of his experience at the Speedway. So I thought that he did a pretty good job of explaining it.
Yeah, I listened to that as well. It was good.
Yeah. I guess I also wasn't aware that currently the track is technically protected, that it's written into law that no matter what becomes of that property, that it must always have a racetrack on it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess that besides the soccer guy, the main push is that they want it to turn back into the green space that it was pre 1904.
Which is what most racetracks were before they built them. Just a fucking patch of grass.
Yeah. But there was that one lady who like went after Dale Jr. and Kenny Wallace on Twitter.
Oh yeah, that has like 80 followers. I ratioed them, which is very funny. They tweeted something and I just said, "Oh hey, fuck off," and I got like 100 times more likes than they did. So that was good.
Hell yeah.
I feel like someone like figured out that lady isn't from Nashville and doesn't even currently live in the neighborhood near the Speedway anymore. So
well, too, like they said something about like Marcus Smith and Dale Jr., these North Carolina billionaires, and Jr. responded, he's like, "Billionaire? If that was the case, I'd just buy the place." So
she called Kenny Wallace the lesser Wallace, which, I mean,
we all know Mike is.
Yeah,
Mike is the lesser Wallace.
There's a hierarchy here. Yeah. And I liked Kenny's response, which was essentially, you know, even though I am the lesser Wallace, you still thought me big enough to bring my name up in this. So thank you for the support. But yeah, very curious and hopeful that, again, Dale Jr.'s episode, or the segment on his show about that, kind of made me feel a little bit better about it. But this is certainly different from any other situation that NASCAR's been through with that. Or any other racetrack that's fighting with this. Like, this is literally in the middle of a fucking development now.
Yeah.
So, I think this is going to be a long battle, and, you know, fingers crossed that things work out. Yeah, that right to race shit in Wisconsin pissed me off. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. We're dealing with the same thing in Ohio with weed.
Really?
You know, oh yeah, we you know, it got legalized last year, a couple years ago, and then, you know, our governor basically like just went back on all the shit that got changed and you know, I still go to Michigan or New York anyways to buy it, so no big deal.
Yeah. So it goes. But we're not even done with the weekend yet, folks. We got plenty more. We before we started talking about the spiritual qualities of Nashville and what's alive and what isn't, we left Truelove in a hotel room in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we're gonna pick up the story right where we left off. Take it away, Truelove.
Yep. So woke up in Knoxville, surrounded by, I guess, football fans at the free breakfast thing. Drove to Bristol. We got there probably around noon. Parked nearby. Walked to the credentials trailer and then to the fan zone. Now this was Andy's first time to Bristol, first time to a race at Bristol. So I was very excited for him to just experience all of it. But I got to the fan zone. As soon as we got there, Connor Zillich barreled around past us on a golf cart, and I very rudely just pointed directly at him to try to alert Andy, and Zillich saw me pointing at him, and he waved. So we did a lap around the fan zone. Nothing really much to talk about there. There was a big Ram activation, big Bass Pro activation, which is the usual for Bristol. There's a giant cow statue next to the Mayfield stand. There was a Zentent.
Good.
Cracker Barrel. And Kyle Larson was on stage when we walked by, so I just kept walking. But I did hear him talk about how he said he will never do the double again. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go to the ceremony with the ash spreading?
Did not. This is something I believe Brian found on Facebook prior to the weekend.
I think so. I think Brian left. He's doing dishes or some shit. But yeah, from the NASCAR camping and tailgating group on Facebook, somebody posted, we have a big group going to Bristol this weekend. We are spreading my dad's ashes. Our campsite is also doing glitter shots for titties if you want to come by. And that is certainly a collection of words I'd never seen put together before.
What's a glitter shot? That's what I was most curious about.
I'm just curious where the glitter came from. Like they mixing Meemaw in with or Pawpaw, excuse me, with the liquor. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you didn't go?
I did not stumble across this campground. I did not see any puffs of ashes being spread. So
What a shame.
yeah, I'm a little disappointed, but I'm a little not. So
Yeah, it's probably fine you didn't go to that.
yeah, maybe next time. So yeah, we went into the infield entrance that is outside of turn 3, and since we got there early enough, I got to Andy got to walk down the track into the belly of the beast, and you really get a idea of how steep that place is just walking down that entrance. And it's crazy to think about the haulers driving down through that gate too.
Right.
And yeah, so we did some laps. I wanted Andy to be able to get, see everything. And once pit road opened up, we, walked up and down there checking out the paint schemes. After that, our buddy Ross, who we've talked about, has a new job this year working for Trackhouse as their head chef. He was finished feeding all the crew and sponsors, so he was kind of in his downtime and about done for the day. So we found his little setup, and it was just really cool to get to see him in his gig, up close and personal, and see his workstation and have him really kind of walk us through what his weekend looks like and see all the food that he had prepared. And he, told us to help ourselves to anything we wanted to eat. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. And Ross really is an amazing cook. So he had cooked a bunch of chicken and pork kebabs. So got a lot of meat. Got some rice and some pesto sauce, but he had a bunch of stuff that he had cooked. A couple of the crew guys kind of meandered in and out while we were in there too, and everyone that came in there talked to me and Andy and were super friendly too. There was one guy that had a New Zealand accent, but I didn't get a chance to ask him who the hell he was. I'm assuming he was with Shane.
It's a good guess.
Yeah.
It's a good guess.
Yeah, there was another guy that came in who was just raving about Ross and how much everyone loves him. He told us that the chef that they had last year sucked and didn't put any effort in, didn't know how to use seasonings, like just hot garbage. And then the team shows up to Daytona 500 and felt like they were at,
They got Ross.
Gourmet food. Yeah. So it was great to hear everyone just really praise, Ross and how thankful they are for him. So Stephen Parsons wandered in at some point too, but I didn't talk to him.
He's got to eat somewhere.
Yeah, he's got to eat. Let's see. Stephen Parsons. They had they have the stage set up where they do driver intros and the singer, whatever, I don't even know who it was this year. Wasn't Tim Duggar. There was some karaoke going on at one point, which was really bad. But then at one point while we were walking around, they had this, she was an Asian lady who rides a really, really tall unicycle and stacks bowls.
Red Panda.
Well, I guess. With stacks of
Not
bowls.
that I know, I don't know much about her, but I just know that's who she is, and
okay.
she's good at that. So
yeah, well, she was good at it. But yeah, stacking bowls and plates and stuff on her legs while balancing and tossing them on her head and shit. But the only thing that I could really focus on was they had her up on the big Colossus screen, and she was wearing a skirt, and there was just an upskirt shot, and obviously she has on bike shorts under it or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're the same color as her. And then I noticed that her unicycle seat was also flesh colored, so it just looked like a straight up shot of a lumpy hoo-ha, and it was very
Sitting on a pole. Yeah.
she needs to make that shit neon orange or green or something, but yeah, that's my Red Panda note.
I love how quick Brian was to identify Red Panda.
well, it's in my one Discord,
Big
there are
fans.
fans of her, and that's why I just know that reference, because somebody posted it we have a NASCAR chat in Discord because a bunch of those people are in our league, and yeah, it was brought up that she was at the track. So
Panda Nation.
Gotcha. Panda Nation. After that, pit road's kind of starting to fill up a little bit. Driver intros are about to get started. So whenever I have pit passes at Bristol during then, I like to go sit on pit wall and just people watch, because that's when people, any quote unquote celebrities that are there and drivers and stuff will eventually file by, and I love a good people watch. But I sat down next to Riley Herbst's pit box and look over, and Michael Jordan was sitting under there. So
No kidding.
I've been in a few races that he was at, but had no idea. So this was my first time getting to see him in the flesh. So that was cool. I did notice there was a bunch of whippersnapper, I don't know, influencer maybe, I don't know, very attractive young girls who were gathered around Carson Hocevar's car and basically just having their own photo shoot individually, getting every pose imaginable, taking a lot of ass shots. And then later I saw them all sitting on his pit box, so I don't know who they were, but good for him.
Yeah, it sounds right. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Fuck. I'm lost and I'm tired.
I've never been to Bristol. There's a tunnel to get to the grandstands, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So didn't have to technically buy tickets, luckily.
And you're
but-
not stuck down there.
when
Yeah.
we
No.
went when Truelove and I went to the dirt race a few years ago, like we ended up seeing the finish from the infield because Jay brought us down there.
Nice.
Yeah. Decided for the anthem that we were going to stand next to Bubba's car since he was next to Hamlin, so kind of killing two birds with one stone. Normally I'd stand near Chase's car, but he was way down next
Chase
to like
did not have a good
McDowell.
day.
Yeah, so. And plus Bubba had that WrestleMania scheme, so I thought maybe there might be some wrestlers or something around his car. But while we're still sitting there waiting, I start noticing Mikey pacing up and down pit road, just pacing, going in circles, pacing, back and forth. And he's got a little crumply piece of paper in his hand. And I realize that he is prepping for the grid walk, which prior to that moment, I would have never thought for 2 seconds that this man put any prep or effort
You never know.
Yeah, really.
to the grid walk. But he was out there pacing and talking to himself, going between like Hamlin's car, Bubba, and Hosovar for a long time. So shockingly, there's prep that goes into it. I think Andy caught him picking his teeth with that piece of paper at one point, but that's besides the point. Let's see. So yeah, standing next to Bubba's car, and then Jimmy Johnson walks up on the other side of the rope, like right next to me, like we're basically rubbing shoulders. And he stood there for a very, very long time, but he was talking to a couple other people, and I didn't want to be that person that interrupted him for a photo when he's in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
Like Ty Gibbs' mom came up and gave him a hug. And there was an older gentleman that asked him for a picture, but I didn't want to bother him. Let's see, who else did I see? Jimmy Johnson. Hamlin had all three of his kids with him, plus Jordan, and his mom was there too. So they were having a bunch of little wholesome family moments. Their kids are so cute, especially the little baby. He was like ripping his hat off the whole time, throwing it on the ground, and his sunglasses and all that stuff. Cute baby stuff. Then got to watch the grid walk live and in person. Started with Hamlin with some, I guess, New England Patriots quarterback, and then he went over to Bubba and the wrestler, what's his name, Brian Kane? Who's now a
Glenn
mayor.
Jacobs. Glenn Jacobs, who is the mayor of Knoxville County or Tennessee or whatever.
Yeah,
Fuck that guy. But yeah, he was there.
he was there. I had no idea who he was in the moment. I thought it was just some random dude, but
Well, yeah, I mean, Kane, his whole thing for most of his career was, he was Undertaker's brother and wore a mask for the majority of it. Yeah, he's just a big MAGA dumbass now.
gotcha. Well, so yeah, stood next to Bubba's car for the anthem and the flyover. And I know we already have Rob's Darf of the Year, but I did want to nominate my own personal in-person Darf that I witnessed. We're standing there, and there's a couple, they're not crew members, but they obviously work for 2311, who are kind of standing in between us and Bubba's car to probably serve as like a little bit of a barrier. And like I said, the anthems happen, the flyover's happening, the drivers are getting geared up. Bubba is standing next to his window at this point. Everyone's, things are starting to move. And Bubba's he's in the middle of putting in his in-ear, whatever they are. What are they called? His in-ear.
Yeah, the in-ear for the radio, yeah.
Yeah. He's got those in, and the helmet is coming on next. And this guy next to me gets the attention of those employees, the 2311 employees, and shoves a hat out at him and goes, "Hey, could you get Bubba to sign this real quick, before he has to get in the car?" And they just looked at him like, "Nah, man."
You missed
and me and Andy,
every opportunity.
me and Andy instantly got like secondhand embarrassment just from the fact that we were standing next to him and could have possibly been associated with knowing this person. So that was my in-person DARF encounter.
That is almost, I would put that on the same tier as my guy, for sure. Mm-hmm. We got co-DARFs.
Yeah. So yeah, after that they clear out pit road. We have to go behind pit wall, and excuse me. They fire the engines, and I've never seen this happen before. So Bubba fired his engine, and then he pulled up towards pit wall and started like revving his engine up over and over and over again. I was like, oh, that's different. I've never seen any driver do that here before. And then I took a step back and realized that Michael Jordan was standing right there. So he had just went up and was revving at Michael, and Michael's standing there laughing. So
oh, that's
that
awesome.
Was cool. Yeah. And yeah, then the race started. We just we did laps. I wanted Andy to be able to experience anything that he wanted to experience down there, get as many photos, as much Super 8 footage as he wanted, and like see pit stops and stand at different viewpoints. So we were down there all of stage 1 and like the first half of stage 2. Right when that wreck happened with SVG and Bowman and John Hunter, we were standing right there in turn 3. So that happened right in front of us. And then after that, we decided to go up into the grandstands for the end of the stage and stage 3. At that point, the heat had kind of got to me, and all the walking from the past few days, and yeah, I needed to sit down and drink a beer. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, the experience at home for me, the first stage was pretty boring. I tweeted out like, all right, I think we can give this date to Rockingham, but the second and third stages were pretty good. Once the track rubbered up, there was a lot of passing going on, and lap cars, and obviously tires did have an effect. But it really kind of like the O'Reilly's race the night before. It was surprising at the very end to see guys with fresh tires not be able to pass for the lead. I mean, obviously, in traffic in the back of the pack, like, there was movement, but the way Ty Gibbs was able to hold off both Larson and Blaney was kind of surprising. And it really just was an indication of how much, a clean racetrack and fresh air was able to really benefit guys, because, especially when lap traffic was there and stuff. I mean, it was, there was plenty of passing, but I don't think any of us, I said this last week that, we're going to see a Ty Gibbs win soon. But it wasn't totally unexpected for him to win at Bristol. Bristol is one of his better tracks. I didn't necessarily expect the win to come a week after I said that, but
yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm also not surprised.
I don't know, man, because was it since either Coda or Las Vegas?
He'd had 5 straight top 6 finishes.
Yeah, he's finished no worse than 6th since he stopped sucking. So I think it's pretty safe to say. I made sure I started him in fantasy. It was the only good thing I did this week.
I've been starting him the last few weeks just because he's been on such a roll. And, he raced a good race. He started, he started up front, but, got shuffled back. He had didn't have a great start and, got shuffled back to like 14th, I think. But he was up front all day. don't like the guy at all, but at the same time, I consider myself a fairly objective fan when it comes to on-track stuff, and he ran a great race, and he has, for granted his controversies in the past with rough driving, I mean, he isn't necessarily in the Cup Series, at least the last few years. He hasn't really done too many egregious things.
I think people forget that Ty Gibbs does not suck.
Yeah, that's
Like,
the
he's
thing. He's
incredibly talented.
Yeah, he's a very good driver. We'll say that. But like literally the second he got out of the car, it's just like, yep, I don't like you at all. Like just the way he was dancing and like his fucking the sunglasses. Don't even get me fucking started on these sunglasses. I don't know what the fuck they were, but I'll have to get a picture because they're just the stupidest fucking sunglasses I've ever seen. And like the post-race interview, everything about him is so incredibly unlikable. But it is undeniable he's a great race car driver.
Yeah, I mean he's arguably the best car in the Cup Series right now.
That's very arguable.
I mean, look at if we're going by stats alone, there's no question about it. No one has done what Ty has done, especially now that he's got to win. Yes.
No, you can put Blaney and Reddick. I would say are better than him. But no,
I don't see people pulling
close.
top tens every week like that. He's certainly the most consistent. I'll say that.
Somewhat. I mean, well, come on. Listen, Reddick's won 4 races and he's only had 1 finish outside the top 10. Come on. But Ty again is very consistent, very good, and I don't necessarily know if he's going to be a championship contender, but he'll certainly be in the conversation.
Yeah, no question.
He's still got some stuff to prove, and obviously there's stuff behind the scenes with Gibbs and all that, but he's finally clicking. Everything is finally clicking with that team. So this is it. He finally got the one. So now we'll see what happens from here. We also didn't talk about too the couple other incidents with Kyle Busch too, but first Brad Keselowski and Ricky Stenhouse. Stenhouse very clearly taking out Brad. Thankfully, that didn't ruin Brad's day. And then Riley Herbst and Kyle Busch wrecking each other at different points in the race, and Kyle almost, potentially ruining his former car's day, but that didn't happen. So,
my conspiracy is that he was trying to ruin it because he's couldn't bear the thought of seeing his old ride win when he is having the worst time of his life.
Yeah. Yep. His radio was wild all day, and maybe, but I also just think he was just he was pissed off, and Raleigh was the one that he was dealing with all day. So just a nice coincidence for him. But yeah, Ashley got to see Ty Gibbs' first win, so congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I watched, being in the infield at Bristol, you can't really see shit unless you're looking up at the big screen. So I didn't really have to suffer fully.
You were in the infield for the end?
No. For the first stage and a half. So I didn't really have to suffer fully through the Larson dominance. Because by the time I got to stage 3, Blaney he got the lead in stage 3. So, man, I have really lost my train of thought.
You need a glass of water? Are you still dehydrated?
Probably. I mean, by the end, of course, I didn't want Ty Gibbs to win. I was pulling for Blaney. But honestly, anyone winning but Larson would have been fine with me, because if I had to go to Bristol and suffer through one more Larson win, I may never step foot on that property again.
Would have been great. Would have been a great birthday present for Rob.
Yeah. But, I mean...
Well, even Reddick almost, for a second, looked like Reddick was going to get his 5th win.
Yeah. I mean, again, since I didn't have to watch much of the Larson dominance, just the stage 3 from the grandstands, I would say it was probably the best Bristol race that I've personally seen in person there since the dirt race, and not that the dirt race was that great, but it was just such a cool experience.
Yeah.
But you could see, like, standing in the infield, you could see the rubber flying off, and sitting in the grandstands, you could see endless cars snapping loose coming out of the corner, and everyone kind of felt on edge. And then, to have such an exciting finish with, 3 or 4 cars really under a blanket was great. There was definitely a mixed crowd reaction to Ty winning. There were some cheers, which I was surprised by, but there was definitely plenty of boos as well. Earlier, before the race on pit road, I did notice a young girl, probably teenager, late teens, early 20s. I believe she was there alone, but she was just standing by Ty's car, staring at it for a very long time. And she had on all her Ty gear, and she also had a Ty Gibbs flag draped over her back. So I'm sure wherever she was probably crying somewhere. So good for her. I'm sure
that's cool.
She had a great day.
I had seen a couple Ty super fans, obviously, very much gloating on Twitter, and fine, you can have your moment, but he's still
been waiting a while.
He's still an incredibly unlikable human being.
Yeah,
and that's the weird contrast is, like, obviously there's all the Gibbs stuff that's happened the last few years, and the deaths in the families and all that stuff. Regardless of what you think about Ty, I mean, in a sense, it's a good story, but yeah, again, Ty it's awful. Like, he just sucks. and it's funny too. There's a bunch of coverage afterwards of, like, nobody really knows who Ty Gibbs is as a human being. Like, he's just so guarded with himself, and like, doesn't do much press, and really keeps to himself, and like, oh, maybe someday you guys will see the personality, but it's like the bits we do, it's just like, man, I don't like him at all.
It's weird.
Like even like Joey, like, I don't love Joey Logano on the track, but he seems like a very likable guy, like, and I don't. It's like the exact opposite with fucking Ty,
Yeah, when he first climbed out of the car, I was definitely annoyed, but once, like, Joe started talking, and when Ty started talking about his dad, and then his mom came up and she was sobbing, I turned off my hatred for just to,
Yeah, you gotta appreciate those
that.
moments for what they are.
Yeah, and then to see, like, endless drivers come up to him after the race to congratulate him, and then to watch his mom drive around the track in the passenger seat and her riding shotgun while he does a burnout up the ramp to the victory lane was cool too. So it is what it is.
Yeah. I watched. I got home from Thompson, which I'll talk about in a second here, and I was like, cool, I got a couple hours before I got to go to bed. I'll watch the race, and I flipped it on, and I woke up with 10 laps to go. So it's basically what would have happened if I was at home. But I thought that was a great finish as well. Ty, I'm at the indifferent stage with him. And yeah, like Truelove was saying, you got to appreciate that. At least 1 week out of the year. If it keeps happening, then I'll change my opinion. But for now, I'll let the boy have one. Yeah. Meanwhile, I was at Thompson for the Icebreaker, the big Sunday show, the Icebreaker 150 NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour race. Nice car count. I think it was 31 modifieds on the property, plus all the other local divisions. Thompson's done a really good job of building those up, and the car counts were definitely up, so that was nice. Race of the weekend was definitely the Sunoco mod race, which is the Thompson track modifieds. It's somewhere between an SK and a Tour mod, I guess. I forget exactly like what the specs are. I think it's a crate engine or something like that. But anyway, if you want to talk about tech stuff, I'm the wrong guy. But yeah, hell of a show between Todd Owen and Keith Rocco, and I felt like a fucking genius because I had a lot of family out. My wife actually went out to the racetrack. She never does that, so God bless her for
that's awesome,
for taking one on the chin and going out there. And we sat in turn 4, which is my favorite spot. And you guys know this about me. Like, I sit in all the worst places possible when I go to a racetrack. I don't mind the dirt. I don't mind getting pelted with mud and rocks and marbles and all that. And to the point where I don't even notice that shit at Thompson anymore.
Yeah.
But everyone else I brought with me was like, wow, you really get hit with a lot of stuff here. And I was like, what are you talking about? And my father-in-law reaches in his pocket and hands me a big chunk of rubber that he had been clocked with. But I told him, and as the heats were lining up for the Sunoco mods, I was like, all right, that guy's Keith Rocco. He's starting in the back. He's going to work his way to the front. Sure enough, in 2 laps, Rocco was up front. I was like, all right, I look pretty fucking smart here. Next heat comes out, Todd Owen, kind of same deal, is starting like 5th or 6th. And I was like, that's the guy right there. You watch. Sure enough, works his way to the front. I was like, I look so goddamn smart. And we got to the feature. It ended up being just those 2 guys and John Puello, who I'd also pointed out as being the future, just going at it. Hell of a battle. That was awesome to watch. And I actually look like I knew what I was talking about for once in my life. So that was cool. We got there not late, but late enough for most of the seating or the area where you set your seats up was already pretty full. All the old timers had gotten there and beat us, so we're all the way over by the camera stand in turn 4, right in front of where Phoenix Communications sets up their hospitality for the weekend. Of course, that's Justin Bonsignor, our sponsor, and we were just pelted with the smell of peppers and onions all day, and a full-on corporate spread that we weren't allowed to touch. In fact, me and my buddy Matt were standing there talking, and this lady comes up and she's like, you guys want to get your picture taken? And we're just like, for what? And she's like, oh, wait, you don't work for us, do you? And I was like, and I thought about it. I was like, if I say yes, do I get tortellini salad? Because there's a big pile of it behind me that I want. But no, we didn't get our pictures taken. But
should have told her it was your birthday. You wanted peppers for your birthday.
I should have told her. They had the Masters on, so my father-in-law went over there with a beer and watched that with them for a little while, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, another great, decently packed crowd. Lots of folks on the property. Tough to find parking. Always good to see. You can't bring your own beer into Thompson, technically speaking, and if you do, it can't be glass. Everyone knows you don't bring glass to a racetrack. But my wife did report that when she went out to the car to get a jacket, because it was a little chillier on Sunday, that she did witness a couple guys getting their glass bottle Coronas getting taken away from them. They were smuggling in Pringles cans. So
Pringles cans, you can fit more fucking beer. You can fit 2 full beers in a Pringles can if you use cans, you morons.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't get the count on how many Pringles cans they had, but yeah, those got taken away promptly.
A suspicious amount of Pringles cans.
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious. But modified tour race was pretty good. Matt Hirschman was on the pole. No surprise, John McKennedy was fast, took the lead pretty quickly. But the story of Sunday was Steven Kopchik. Of course, he won Martinsville last week. They were there last week, right? Yeah, it was last week they were at Martinsville. He was fast all day. No one could really get John McKennedy off the point until Ronnie Williams crashed right in front of us and almost sent a tire over the fence. So that was entertaining for everybody. Got a lot of oohs and ahs out of the crowd. And Kopchik was able to take the lead on pit road, and he never let go of it, despite protests from Ron Silk and Mikey Christopher. Mikey having a good weekend all weekend, so that was awesome to see. Of course, you guys know Mike Christopher fan, so that was nice to see. A little birthday treat. He ended up 3rd. Ron Silk ended up 2nd, and of course Steven Kopchik picking up his 2nd win in a row, and now on top of the modified points, which is kind of fucking crazy. I never saw that one coming. He's fast, and he hasn't really done a lot of full-time stuff with the tour yet, and he's certainly the favorite for the title right now. There's a lot of fast guys out there this year, and definitely an expanded field, so I'm sure he'll have some challenge from at least Justin Bonsignor once they pick up a little bit more speed. Patrick Emmerling as well. He was in the mix. But yeah, just a nice day at the racetrack. And then we got out of there. Not too much to report, but it was a really nice day to be out there with family and a few friends. My buddy Matt and his lady came down, and it was their first time at a short track ever, I'm pretty sure. And certainly their first time at Thompson. And it's always fun bringing the first timer there and kind of showing them it is the oldest paved oval in the United States. So even if you don't give a fuck about racing, kind of a neat piece of history And just to sit there and drink some Fireball nips and some beers and shoot the shit and watch race cars scream past you was a good time. Couldn't tell you what else happened. And like I said, I went home after that and passed out on my couch. So successful birthday weekend, successful icebreaker, and looking forward to seeing a few more tour events this year. I forget where they're going next, but I'll be at Thompson as much as I can this year, as always.
That makes me happy that you got to spend your birthday weekend at a racetrack.
I love it when it lines up. It doesn't happen often. Usually the icebreaker is like a week or two before, or the weather splits it across an entire month. But this year it was perfect, and I think all the fans in New England deserve that after putting up with the snow last year and the rain and all the weird schedule shit and COVID and just years and years of weird scheduling and shoehorned one-day shows. It was nice to get just a straight up classic icebreaker weekend with not a cloud in the sky until about 20 minutes before the show ended, which was great.
Yeah. I did have a couple more Bristol notes right there at the end that I forgot to mention. It was on me. I just wanted to comment on the fact that once we got out into the grandstands, I didn't really see any interesting darves out there, I guess, but I did notice an insane amount of prison tats everywhere I looked. Every sleeveless, shirtless man that I saw covered in prison tats, so those were fun to look at. Also, as we were leaving after the race through the concourse, I'm sure you guys have seen this guy. He's all over the internet. He goes to a shit ton of races and he dresses like a leprechaun.
No,
I've never seen this guy.
He's
News
in
to me.
all the Facebook groups. He wears like a kilt. He has a red beard. He wears the little leprechaun hat.
It's not Red Panda, is it?
Well, anyway, I thought that everyone knew this guy. I saw him wandering through the concourse. He looked like he was standing upright, but he had a friend who was probably 15 feet behind him, dressed as a pirate, who was not doing well. He could barely walk. There was no semblance of life behind his eyes. He was desperately trying to just keep up with this leprechaun. And I watched him walk through the concourse and stumble into every single pillar all the way down through there. So
Perfect.
I really hope he's doing okay.
At least there's something to run into. Keep him upright.
After that, we went to our Red Roof Inn because we decided to stay the night in Bristol and then kind of take our time getting home the next day. Maybe, explore downtown Bristol since I haven't done too much of that before. But Monday we woke up and just went to a bunch of antique malls all over town. And we got lunch downtown as well at a place called Corner Pub, where we witnessed a man get arrested at 1 p.m. That was fun.
On a Monday.
On a Monday. 1 p.m., yep. And then we drove by the track again on the way out of town, and every single gypsy tent person was still out there packing up boxes late into the afternoon. So, also saw a post from Brad K, who stayed late in Bristol as well to explore downtown and was bitching about a bunch of vape shops, which there are a lot of vape shops.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Mm-hmm. So that was my whole Bristol trip.
Nice. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. We also had Fantasy League return this week. Our big winner at Bristol was Stephen Kent.
This guy.
Yep. Chris Davis tied for second with Little Michael, who I believe is Andy Newsom's friend. Fourth place was a three-way tie. Alan Quicky's Briefcase, Flavortown McLeod, and Bailey Weinkoff, who was also at the race. I didn't get to talk to him, but he was there. Brian came in 8th, Rob 13th, and I was way back in 18th because I didn't get one single bonus pick right. So,
Yeah,
not a good week for me.
I had a pretty great lineup. Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs. I forget who else was in the mix, but my fifth driver and garage option was Chase Elliott or Christopher Bell. So you pick your poison there.
Yeah, that's rough.
Normally it would be
I
great
had Bell in
picks.
the garage.
Overall point standings are the same as they were when we last played 2 weeks ago. Chris Davis is still leading.
Well, no,
Flavortown-
Bailey leapfrogged. Like, I stayed in fifth. I passed you, but we both got leapfrogged by Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey, jumped up to fourth. I fell to eighth, and Rob moved up a spot to 16th. So
Yeah, we're grinding back here.
slowly chipping. Then we got Kansas next. So
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I guess that pretty much wraps up all of our weekend. So I guess that's general news and notes time here. Let me
Yeah,
pull
not
up
too many
my-
this week.
I already forget this Noah Gragson.
Why is he disgusting? Other than the obvious.
He tweeted
Disgusting.
something weird.
yeah, he made a tweet. I'm just gonna read it word for word. He tweeted, "Wow, just found an old contact in my shoe. Foul. Probably from when I'm laying in bed at night and flick them under the bed. Not my best habit, but I know I'm not the only one who does that." Everyone in the comments also does not do that. So,
Yeah, seems like he
that's-
might be.
Yeah, that's news.
I
to me.
mean,
At least
do
he's
people not
aware.
have nightstands anymore?
Well, he does have a
I
Zen
wouldn't
can
say- I wouldn't
collection
say
in
it's-
his room, so yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the nightstand issue. It's more why you just flicking your fucking contacts. That's weird behavior.
But if he has a nightstand, he could just lay them on the nightstand and then throw them away in the morning if he's being that lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least he has a little bit of self-awareness.
I guess. That's gross.
Speaking of not having any self-awareness,
Well, also on Twitter this week, so there was some like right-wing influencer account that tweeted out this video of like, oh, check out this woman's NASCAR collection. It's got to be worth tons of money, something to that effect. And it's this video of this just tour of this guy's house and garage and just shit everywhere. And in the middle of the video, very clearly displayed is a Nazi flag
just hanging on the ceiling.
hanging on the ceiling. And then also too, if you people also pointed out other Nazi memorabilia and Trump memorabilia in this guy's collection. So yeah, NASCAR fans not beating the allegations, unfortunately.
No, autistic Nazis.
It was a big collection.
It
Yeah,
was
well,
massive.
Somebody asked me, is that actually worth money? And I'm like, most of it's not. Like, most of it's just trash. Like, it's really not that valuable of a collection. But yeah, I don't know about the Nazi stuff.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know if that
up
little
there
Easter
territory.
egg was supposed to make the cut there, and if his wife even noticed. But
Yeah. Let's see what else. So today, my big thing. So I think it was Tuesday. Dirty Mo tweeted out like, "Do you guys know BJ? Team Live Fast, BJ McLeod's shop is on the same street as us. Something to that effect. Like, we got to get him on the download." And like, I responded like, "Yes, you fucking do." The next day, guess who was on the download? This interview, like, I know Rob and Ashley haven't listened to it yet, but I listened to the whole thing. It is one of the best interviews. I mean, granted, we're all BJ fans, and this is something I've just wanted more insight on BJ's life and career. Because as much as I like him, there's a lot of unanswered questions. Like, how did, I knew he was a late model guy in Florida for a while, but how did he get there? How did he, own his own team? And all your questions, if you've ever had questions about BJ McLeod, everything is answered in this interview. It is one of the best interviews I've heard on that show in a long time. BJ is just, again, as someone who really loves and appreciates the independent guys out there, BJ's story is very cool and interesting and unique. He talks about his family and his family's businesses and how he himself dropped out of school in 7th grade because he wanted to make more money and race more, but yet then he ends up still going back to high school to finish and get a diploma. Like, that's, I've never heard of that before. Like someone quitting school and then going back. Talks about obviously, his starting the teams and what he went through as an independent driver and talks about selling the charter and how it was an investment plan. Like they were planning on selling it when the charters got to they thought when they bought the charter, like, yes, we're going to grind for 10 to 20 years until it hits, 9 figures, because that's, at this point it's probably close to that. But he talks about how once the next gen car came into play, he was performing worse and spending more money in the next gen cars, and that's why they decided to cash out when they did. But no, the whole interview is just amazing. Like if you were already a BJ fan and like me had questions about his career, everything gets answered. If you are not a BJ fan, you will become one after this, because he is just very smart and savvy. Like him and his wife have been together forever, and they've started all these businesses, and it's just an amazing interview. Everybody needs to listen to it. It is wonderful. Like I love BJ before this, and this only strengthened my love and respect for the guy. Like he's a great dude, and it's a bummer that he has never really succeeded in motorsports, but when you listen to the interview, he goes into why he wanted to do all this himself. And I, as someone myself that, likes to be independent, there's so much more respect to be gained by listening to this interview. So everybody go listen to it. It is one of the best things you'll hear all year. I loved it.
I would consider him a success story. I know not in the traditional sense when you look at motorsports, but I don't.
Oh no, he's absolutely
1,000% a success story.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it's amazing. So go listen to it.
You said there's a lot of corn talk too.
Not a lot of corn, but I mean they do get into they talk about BJ's style. Like, obviously BJ has a very very unique, especially in the NASCAR world and in general. Like
yes.
he has a very distinct style from the early 2000s that he has not gotten rid of at all. But yeah, they mentioned he talked. Dale asks him, 3 favorite concerts. He's like, well, I've only been to one, and it was Metallica. But he's like, he just talks about loving Korn and how he met like Jonathan Davis in Las Vegas and stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I just cannot talk this interview up enough. Like listen to it. It is amazing. Like I was riveted every second I had it on. So it was wonderful.
Yeah, I look forward to listening to that. On the opposite end of the spectrum, dumbass Daniel Dye is back, and he's been exiled to ARCA. I forget who he's driving for, but if you're a Daniel Dye fan, he'll be back for Kansas.
Yep. That's really, the only other note that I don't have on here that I guess we can mention is Talladega in a couple weeks. They are reversing the stages. Stage 1 is going to be 98 laps, and then the other 2 are going to be like 45 or whatever, in an effort to combat the fuel mileage racing, which to me, as a NASCAR diehard, this means I am going to put less effort into making sure I'm home on time to watch the first stage, because it's still going to be fuel. Like, I get what they're trying to do, and I'm sure maybe it'll help
a little bit. I think.
It'll help a little bit, but it's not a fix for the stage racing and the fuel mileage shit. So yeah, it's only gonna delay my efforts to get home on time for the start of the race. So,
yeah, you can mow your lawn a little bit later on Sunday now.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah, and also too, they're talking about because like Rob mentioned, Steve O'Donnell is on Door Bumper Clear, and it's a good episode too. You should listen to that. But he also mentioned that they're thinking about doing mandatory 4-tire pit stops during green flag stops for super speedway races next year. Again, I really don't know how you fix the fuel mileage racing at that Talladega and Daytona, because it's not really an issue at Atlanta. But I don't know. It's still, just a Band-Aid on a flesh wound. So yeah. It is what it is.
We'll see.
But that's pretty much it, unless you guys have anything else before we dive into the septic tank.
No, I think that's all all the big news, or the NASCAR news anyway, that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I would be the wrong guy to ask anyway. But with that said, I guess we've kind of been in the septic. This episode has been kind of a Bucky's bathroom.
Did stop at a few of those.
Yeah, it's clean, it's nice, but there's still some piss in there, and we are in the septic tank. A few things I didn't touch on. There's a lot I'm not going to mention just for the sake of time. But we'll blow through this so we can talk about Frankie Muniz some more. World of Outlaws were at Peebly. Buddy Kofoid swept the weekend. He's now third in points behind Carson Macedo and David Gravel, who's at the top. Buddy Kofoid really coming into his own here. If he didn't have such a shitty start, he would almost certainly be the points leader. And Kyle Armstrong, a friend of the program, he brought up a stat that he has more outlaw wins before age 25, I believe, than anyone. Maybe Steve Kinzer had more. I can't remember, but he's quietly establishing himself as a future great, and his performance this weekend out in Missouri certainly cemented that a little bit further. World of Outlaws were at Farmers City for the Illini 100. Brandon Shepard picking up a win on Friday night. And then I didn't ask for this for my birthday, but Bobby Pierce won on Saturday night. You were Illini 100 champion. Did not ask for that for my birthday.
Yeah, I did see the second half of that, and it wasn't, you didn't miss anything. So
thank you. Yeah, but Nick Hoffman on top of the points by 7. So I did ask for that for my birthday. So hopefully he continues the good run he's having. Tim McCready's still sitting in third. Tyler Carpenter beat his dad. That's not what it sounds like. But he beat his dad on the racetrack at West Virginia Motor Speedway and took home $5,000 back to the trailer at the Grassroots Race Revival. I'm so glad that place is back open. So glad. And it's cool to see father and son race each other and be competitive. But yeah, I don't know where you could have watched that. I forget where it was streaming, but yeah, definitely cool to see West Virginia Motor Speedway ripping again. Hudson O'Neal picking up a Hunt the Front win at North Georgia. And Jonathan Davenport also won last night at the Gauntlet at Bulls Gap. This is a week-long event out at Volunteer where the winner of this thing, if they won a prelim night, will take home a $100,000 bonus. So the promoter is definitely going to be sending $100,000 home with Jonathan Davenport, because it seems like that's the only option at this point. But lots of big names out there. I forget where you stream that one as well. It's not on Flow or Dirt Vision or anything like that. It's on a specific streaming service that I think is directly related to the promotion for this event. But if you want to watch it, I think it's like $30 or $40 a night, and it is a badass show. It seems lots of big time guys there, and that'll be running for the rest of the week. Luke Fenhouse picking up a win at the other icebreaker at Dells Raceway Park, so congrats to him. Of course, that was on Pit Road TV, my new employer. And yeah, it seemed like a pretty good race, but I just saw the highlights, and yeah, of course, we all know Luke Fenhouse from the trucks, so, and from winning that SRX race all those years ago. He's a hot shoe. Lots of racing coming up this weekend. Like I said, the Gauntlet at Bulls Gap, that's going to continue on through Saturday, I believe. High Limit's going to be at Lakeside and Wheatland. World of Outlaws will be at Jacksonville and Tri-State. Race Champions Modifieds on Flow Racing for the first time. That's going to be at Mahoning Valley on Saturday. The Northeast Classic is going to be taking place at Loudon, New Hampshire Motor Speedway up here. Of course, the American Canadian Tour, past tours kicking off their Northeast campaigns, or Northern campaigns, as well as an open modified show. That'll be pretty cool to see. I've been to that event a few times. It's awesome. I've talked about it on the show. Definitely get to see a different side of Loudon when the big NASCAR stuff isn't there. It's a killer racetrack. And, of course, my personal favorite event, and the one that I'll be going to, the Spring Fling at Claremont on Saturday and Sunday. That'll be on pitrow.tv, and I'll be manning the booth for that one. I'm not going to be on the mic, but I'll be putting up all the graphics. So if you got a birthday or something you want to shout out, or your mom needs a get well soon wish or something, just holler at me, and we'll tell the people who watch Claremont whatever it is you want to say. But yeah, that's going to be on Pit Road TV all weekend. Very cool event. Both divisions of NEMA midgets are going to be there, as well as all the the track division. So they have an outlaw late model division there, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you guys know what those are, but it's kind of a Florida thing. It's those weird, almost like wedge-looking late models that have like a bubble canopy. Yeah, there's a division of those at Claremont, and those are fun to watch rip around. They were at the Test and Tune a couple weeks ago, and looking forward to seeing those guys race. Hopefully the weather holds out. Looking a little rainy up here on Sunday this weekend, so maybe that schedule will change for that and other events up here, but hopefully not. Hopefully this last weekend wasn't a fluke where we actually had nice weather for once. But yeah, tune in if you happen to be at Claremont, which I doubt any of you listening will be. Come bang on the door and say what's up to me. I'll be there all weekend, and I'll be staying at the motel from Schitt's Creek as well. So if you want to drink some beers and watch stuff after I'm done, you're welcome to come by. But that's it for the Short Track Septic Tank. I'm going to go ahead and flush this thing down, and we're going to watch yet another episode of Primetime Television.
So, this week we watched an episode of Malcolm in the Middle, which coincided with the return, or I guess the reboot of Malcolm in the Middle on Hulu, and also Frankie Muniz running the Malcolm in the Middle paint scheme at Bristol. This was from Season 1, Episode 10, an episode called Stock Car Races. So this episode, let's see here. I'll break down basically the whole thing. I mean, it was a good episode, but starts off with just a little prelude to the episode with the boys watching cartoons on TV, and Dewey comes up to Reese and Malcolm sitting on the couch and pretends to hit himself and starts yelling, which leads to Mom coming out in the middle of Dewey putting on this show and getting Reese in trouble, so he'd take his spot on the couch. After the intro to the show, we see the family eating breakfast and Malcolm talking about taking part in what's called Personal Fulfillment Week at school, which means he has to do line dancing in class, and he's apparently been skipping school most of the week. Reese ends up saying ass while mocking him, and then immediately has to take a swig of dish soap. Malcolm decides to ditch school again, but while walking out the door, his dad decides to take all the boys to school because he wants to have a nice little moment with the boys. But that's not what he's actually doing. Meanwhile, Francis, who is the bad older brother that has to go to military school, he ends up getting fucked with while playing pool, and then he ends up hitting a pool ball into one of the bullies that is mocking him. Afterwards, he's also smoking a cigarette while playing pool. I guess I don't know what to call him, the headmaster, commander, whatever the fuck you call him in military schools, comes in, and his dog, he has this little Jack Russell Terrier with him, ends up sniffing out Francis's cigarettes, and this leads to the hot water being taken away from his floor for a month, and getting beaten up by his fellow classmates. Meanwhile, back at the house, on the trip to school, I forget his character's name, but Dad.
Is it Hal?
Hal, that's it. Yes. He surprises the boys by taking them to a quote-unquote NASCAR race at Irwindale Speedway, which it must have been a Winston West race, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because before they even figure out where they're going to, Hal tells the boys, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I wanted to wait until you're old enough to appreciate it. And Reese's guess is that they were getting hookers. But meanwhile, back at the house, so the C plot of this, so there's A plot, the boys going to the racetrack. The B plot is Francis, and the C plot is Mom at home. Mom at home is trying to find her paycheck so she can pay bills. But she can't find it, so she ends up tearing the house apart trying to find it. Cutting back to Francis at the academy, he's licking his wounds from the beating he just took, and in the process of this, he shows his roommate that he has a boa constrictor stored away in his trunk and that he bought for $20. The roommate thinks it's cool, so he's not going to rat on him. But in leaving the room to go do whatever they're going to do, Francis forgets to lock his trunk, which leads to the snake escaping. Heading back to the racetrack, the dad takes them to the racetrack. It apparently is they just call it a NASCAR race. There are 0 races of any magnitude in the NASCAR world that ever happened on like a Tuesday. But apparently this
COVID,
was.
But
Well, yeah.
I don't even know if they happened on Tuesdays then.
Well, they maybe, I can't remember either, but they definitely have been week races.
Yeah.
But anyways, Hal's whole deal is he is a huge fan of a driver named Rusty Malcolm, who they point him out on the track, and it's very clearly Ron Hornaday's car. I'm assuming at least
The
at this
McAnally,
point.
yeah, 15.
16 Napa Chevy, and he talks about him being the best driver of all time in the sport. He apparently had 15 NASCAR titles, 6 world records, and he was the inventor of the in-car urination system.
Yeah.
This is apparently Rusty's last race ever, and that's why Hal wanted to take him there. And he said that Malcolm was actually named after Rusty Malcolm, which was a fight that took two kids to win.
That's a little piece of Malcolm in the Middle lore that I was unaware of.
Yeah, same. Because I watched the show during its first run, and I can't remember racing ever being brought up after this.
No.
So apparently this is Rusty's last race ever, which is why Hal wanted to bring him there. Hal puts on a very goofy NASCAR visor.
It's like one of those poker style visors with the see-through plastic.
Yep. Dewey thinks that Rusty won, but it turns out they're just watching the pace lap. Hal tells the kids to buckle up and strap in because this is going to be a 4-hour event. And the kids are like falling asleep after a couple laps. So the kids want sodas. The dad gives them money for sodas and also gives him money and his ID so that he can get them beer.
That was my favorite part. Like, here's my ID. Get me a beer.
Back to the house. Mom is pulling the house apart, and she's discovering all these hidden bad things that the kids and Hal have, and finds like firecrackers and porno mags and all this other bullshit. Back at the track, the kids are going to get sodas, and they immediately lose Dewey. Malcolm and Reese fight over this. Reese eats a hot dog off the ground, and then Malcolm just exclaims, "This place sucks." Reese sees a door in the grandstands labeled like mechanics only, everyone else forbidden.
Mechanics dressing room or something.
Which why would that be in the fucking grandstands? That doesn't make any sense. But they immediately sneak in. They get caught, but they show that Malcolm has a air gun like wrapped up in his t-shirt. We go back to the house, and Malcolm's teacher shows up to confront the parents about Malcolm skipping school, but also that she thinks that Malcolm is just afraid of dancing because he is uncoordinated, and the mom is not having any of that. We go back to the track, and we see the kids have been caught by security, and the security guard actually gives them a moment of grace and is about to let them go, but then Reese must not have been paying attention to what this guard was saying and just punches the guy in the balls, and then they're not going anywhere. Meanwhile, Hal doesn't give a shit about his kids. He's just excited about this race, and he's daydreaming about being on Rusty's pit crew and giving Rusty beverages through the window. Back at the military academy, Francis and his roommate, they figure out that the snake has escaped, and from a few doors over, they can hear the snake attacking the headmaster's dog, and they hear some gunshots. Francis then immediately calls his mom to try to get a flight home because he realizes he's fucked, and his mom tells him to stay there because she found his fake ID, and then he hangs up the phone. Let's see here. I've lost my notes. Back at the academy, the headmaster comes in and he talks about his dog, and says no hot water or TV or anything for 2 months. And Francis thinks he's in for another beating, but he's actually congratulated by his classmates because they all hated the fucking dog. So he's off the hook. We go back to the racetrack again. At this point, the race is over. Rusty's won his last ever career race. And this is when Hal realizes the kids are not there. While the race is ending, though, we notice that Dewey is in the infield and running across a hot track to get back to the grandstands. They find... Hal finds his other 2 kids with a security guard who's telling him about what they got into, how he got assaulted, and they owe him $300 for this gun. And Hal goes to pay the security guard and then kicks the guy in the balls, and they all scurry off to escape. They get back home, and Dad is disposing of the evidence of their day playing hooky, and he ends up finding his wife's paycheck. But then when they walk in the house, they are still all fucked because the mom has all their evidence of all their bad things waiting for them.
Also, Hal's NASCAR visor has burned the NASCAR logo into his head because he was wildly sunburned, so he just has NASCAR written on his forehead, which is hilarious.
That's probably my favorite part of the episode.
Very little... I mean, granted, again, there were 3 plots throughout this episode, and only one of them was dedicated to the racing aspect, but I thought it was funny. I would say the one thing that I think was a very curious tactic they used was, so this episode came out in 2000, and Fox began their NASCAR coverage in 2001. So to use the kids, the kids basically thought the racing was boring. I don't know if that's the best strategy they could have used to help promote NASCAR joining their network, but I thought it was a good episode. I mean, I can't think of it's been years since I've actually watched Malcolm in the Middle, and it was, there's a reason why that show was so popular. It was a very good show. I watched it with my family, growing up, so it was a good episode. It was funny. I mean, it still holds up. But I mean, the racing subplot wasn't incredibly, interesting, but
I mean, I will give them bonus points for this is the only television show we've watched all year, maybe with the exception of Dorf on Golf, where it was actually filmed at the same racetrack, and there was actually continuity with the racing, despite it being a subplot and kind of just the background part of the story. It was very much Irwindale. There was one place they were at the whole time. And there was continuity, which I appreciated. Also, I had forgotten how fucking young Frankie Muniz was when he did that show. Yeah. And that was a little jarring since I'm used to older 25th place Frankie Muniz. And seeing him as a literal boy was a little jarring. I'll say that.
Definitely made me feel very old.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Me and my family also watched the show every week when it first came out. Throughout the whole series, so this was a favorite of ours, but it's also a show that I haven't revisited since that first viewing. So,
but it held up. Like it definitely holds up.
So. Yeah, there's a reason why they brought it back.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, definitely could have used more NASCAR, but they had to get all the plots in. I did think it was funny. When Malcolm was complaining about how much the racing sucks, his quote was, "It's hot, it stinks, no one's shirts cover their stomachs." And then he went on to make a career out of it. So.
Yeah, now he's that guy.
Yeah, good. Sounds like we all liked it, and I will continue to dig up TV shows that have racing plots, because I think these are fun things to talk about on the show.
Yeah, I agree. We don't have official rankings just yet either, but I would say this is pretty close to the top. Not for accuracy necessarily, but just as an entertaining watch, this is probably the best of the television we've consumed this year.
Oh, I would say, I mean, I really like Diagnosis Murder too. I mean, granted, it was bad.
For different reasons.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was also very entertaining. So, video of the week this week, 2 videos. We're going to actually return to actual racing, but we are going to go back and do our first monster truck racing history video of the week, and we're going to be watching TNT Motorsports from Memphis in 1990. We are going to watch the debut of Bigfoot 8, which we'll get into next week, but Bigfoot 8 was a revolutionary truck in monster truck racing history, really changed the entire industry. It had a very controversial run in 1990, and this was the first time it came out and debuted in the TNT series. So we're going to watch that. But also, I talked up the BJ McLeod interview earlier in the show, and I wanted to find some sort of interesting BJ video to watch, but if you look on YouTube, there's really not a ton. I will say there are many interviews that BJ does with podcasts that have triple-digit views, which means that we could very easily get him on the show.
Yeah, probably so.
We have, not that we have a huge audience, but we definitely have more of an audience than some of these other shows that he did podcasts with.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta be careful when you Google interesting BJ video too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean that is not the terms I use.
Make sure you use the last name when you do that.
I will say I found BJ's YouTube account because I was trying to also find some late model footage, and his own personal YouTube account. There's one video on there, and is like a 3-minute clip of him winning some race in Florida like 20 years ago, but it's not that interesting of a video, so I'm not going to show it. But what I am going to show, amongst all the other videos of BJ on YouTube, there are many die-cast reviews of BJ's cars, and I found one little 4-minute clip of, so I forget, I think it ran in 2021. BJ had this car that was sponsored by some sort of alligator attraction.
Yeah,
and there are many
great.
There are many different reviews of this particular podcast, but I found one by a guy with the username Brian Griffin Family Guy Fan 81, and it's just a little 3-minute video, and it's just gonna leave it at that. It's a very interesting little video.
Sure, you don't want to pick the late model race from 20 years ago instead?
No, I don't. we're gonna watch that. So.
And if anyone listening out there does come across any more interesting BJ videos, just send them our way.
Send them to Brian.
Send them to Brian directly.
Yeah.
I do have a not to jump in here, but I do have a late breaking septic tank edition here.
No.
My buddy Justin Olmstead is actually on the property at Bulls Gap right now for the Gauntlet, and he sent a photo of a sign, big white sign with an arrow that says men's pee trough. It's pointing in the direction. And he says, still searching for the ladies' pee trough. But a sign such as this does indicate the possibility of the existence of a women's pee trough. So I'm going to have to ask him if he ever finds it. But I love that. I couldn't wait till next week to share that because I would have forgotten. But yes, the men's pee trough at Bulls Gap is open for business. Ladies, let us know what you find.
Yeah.
Moving on to this coming weekend, NASCAR is in Kansas, aka ASP Speedway. That should be good racing throughout. Is it all 3 series or just O'Reilly's and Cup?
It's ARCA and O'Reilly on Saturday, and then Cup Sunday.
Okay, and I believe Cletus will be running ARCA, so I'm sure that'll be a talking point. So yeah, we've got that, and I'm assuming that nobody's really doing any racing stuff this weekend after both of y'all having big weekends this year.
Well, you would think, but I would.
Well, you're going. Yeah, you're going somewhere. I forget. Yeah.
Well, this weekend I'm going for the first time for myself to Sonoya Raceway.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Andy has a good friend named Dune Buggy who races the local, series there. So this weekend is the points opener, the Pollard Memorial Race. So
Hell yeah.
we're going to go down, I believe Friday for practice and Saturday because Andy wants to shoot a bunch of stuff of him throughout the weekend. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be up at Claremont on the clock. For the spring fling.
Big debut working. I will again be home. I think local tracks are opening up, but the weather is still iffy, and I'm not going on my way to sit in potential rain. So
Yeah, this is definitely opening season. A lot of asphalt tracks are either have already opened up or are just about to. So the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have 100% capacity and racing opportunities for you folks at home coming up, which is always great news.
Brian, make sure you take lots of ARC notes for us.
Yep.
I won't be doing that, but But yeah, as always, you can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Meet Me at Applebee's. I am Speedway Screens on all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the shop, and MMA Applebee's at checkout for 15% off.
It's still Snake Mountain _Truelove. I didn't post much over the weekend just because I was so busy, and I really just tried to stay off my phone. But after I get the podcast post stuff together tomorrow, I'll try to post a bunch of spam from the weekend in my stories, and then some Sonoya stuff this weekend. So
Hell yeah. Yeah, stoked you're going to Sonoya. Always wanted to go
I'm
there.
excited.
Rob Motes _unofficial on Instagram. My band's called These Wild Plains. Like I said, I'll be at Claremont all weekend, so if you're up in Vermont, New Hampshire, and need something to do on Saturday night, come say what's up. I hear the chicken tenders are pretty good there, so I'm going to have to try that out and see what's going on.
Hell yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks for joining us again at Applebee's, and we will talk to you all next week.